Hey guys, so today I'm finally going to be doing my CFL video. I'm sorry that I skipped my CFL Week 21 predictions video last week. I don't really think anyone cared, let's be honest, but if any of you did, I'm sorry. I just didn't really get to it. I don't know, I just didn't get to it. So I did have time, but of course I do work and stuff now, so it's just all kind of like, I don't know. But I'm finally doing it now, so this is going to be my CFL Eastern Conference semifinal and Western Conference semifinal predictions, and I will go over Week 21, how that turned out and how that went and the results and everything like that. So right now I'm actually going to tell you my picks for Week 21 since I never did. I'll tell you the results. I will tell you the standings, the final standings before going into the playoffs. And again, ignore my water heater. It's on. It's like what, 1 in the morning right now? Yeah, it's 1:13 in the morning and I have work tomorrow. But it's at 2 p.m. I'm fine. So, that's Week 1. Let me scroll all the way down. So Week 21, I picked, it was Toronto versus Ottawa. I did choose Ottawa, and I was correct. Ottawa won 24-9. I'm just going to go roughly quick. I chose Winnipeg over Edmonton in Edmonton. And Winnipeg did lose 33-24, so I was 1-1 on the week at that point. Then I chose the Ticats quite confidently that they would win their final game before the playoffs, and guess what? Montreal won 30-28. I was at that game. Like, you saw my vlog. I was at that game. You saw I was literally celebrating. I was like, yeah, and then I was like, what? Because they missed the fucking field goal. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but I was here, right? The kicking thing was here. I'm here, and then the field goal was over here. Like, you couldn't really see. Like, you couldn't see straight. Like, you couldn't see if the ball went through. You kind of saw at an angle. Like, I saw like this, and I just assumed it went through. And then I was like, yeah, and then everyone was kind of like, yeah, and then we're all like, fuck. So they lost 30-28, and they end 8-10 on the season, and now they're going to play in the playoffs against BC, which of course I will get into. I'm going to do a kind of a preview video. And by the way, if you're wondering why I'm so short, it's because this chair is tiny. Like, this chair is literally tiny. I'm trying to sit on stuff to make me sit higher. That's better. This is really uncomfortable for my butt. Ow, what the hell, man? That's better. Ow. Fuck it. So, Ticats, I was wrong. So that I was 1-2 on the week. I'm just gonna say this actually, because I don't like being so short. It seems so, because then you can't even see my, it seems like it's just my head, and it looks stupid like that. So anyway, I ended up being 1-2 on the week, and then I chose BC over Calgary, the game in BC, the final game of the regular season, and Calgary did end up winning this one. They have lost 3 or 4 heading into the playoffs now, but they have won their last game. Like this one, 26-9 in BC. And yeah, so now the Ticats have lost 3 straight heading into the matchup against BC. BC has lost this game, of course, and they did lose the game before that as well. So I think BC has lost 2 games in a row, while Hamilton has lost 3 games in a row. So now let's get into the actual preview. Now that I'm going to tell you the CFL standings if it loads, because I am in the basement, of course. As you can see, I try to not be too much in there. I try to have more of a background. So standings, just to tell you guys the final standings, how everything turned out. And here it is, it loaded. So Calgary, I don't know why that's not loading. So Calgary, Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, and BC are in the playoffs, along with Ottawa and Hamilton for the east side. The Stampeders finished 13-5 with 26 points, 7-2 at home, 6-3 on the road, 5-5 in their division. The Rough Riders finished second, 12-6, 24 points, 6-3 at home, 6-3 on the road, and then 7-3 in their division. The Blue Bombers finished 10-8 with 20 points, 6-3 at home, 4-5 on the road, 4-6 in their division. The Lions finished 9-9 with 18 points, 7-2 at home, and then not so good at home, or not so good on the road, 2-7, 4-6 in their division. And then Edmonton finished 9-9 as well, 18 points, 7-2 at home, 2-7 on the road, just like BC, but Edmonton is not in the playoffs. And then for the East Division, Ottawa finished first place, 11-7, 22 points, 6-3 at home, 5-4 on the road, 6-2 in their division. And then the Ticats finished 8-10, 16 points, 4-5 at home, 4-5 on the road, 4-4 in their division. The Alouettes finished 5-13, third place, 10 points, 2-7 at home, 3-6 on the road, 4-4 in the division. And then the Argos finished last place, 4-14. They finished last place, 4-14 is their record with 8 points, 4-5 at home, 0-9 on the road. So they were winless on the road this year. That's crazy. 0-9 on the road, 2-6 in their division. So that's how the that's how the 2018 season will end off. Now playoff time. So let's start with the Western Conference semifinal preview. So Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan. It's going to be in Saskatchewan. It's going to be Sunday, November 11th, and I did book that day off just so I could watch the Ticat game along with this one. So it's going to be at 4:30 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. My camera only has 5 minutes left, really. I have to delete some stuff. My camera's probably going to turn off soon, so give me 1 second. I have to delete some stuff, and then I'll resume. Okay, guys, there we go. I deleted like a bunch of clips, and now I have an hour, 19 minutes left to record, so that's more than enough time for me. So yeah, Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan, Sunday, November 11th, which is Remembrance Day or Veterans Day in the U.S. At 4:30 p.m. The Ticat game is going to be first at 1 p.m., which I'll get into. So let's start with their records to finish off the season. So as I said, Winnipeg 10-8 away. They're 4-5, which is important because they're going to be on the road. And then Saskatchewan finished 12-6, and then at home they're 6-3. So Saskatchewan is second place with 24 points, while Winnipeg is third place with 20 points. So now getting into the points scored, points allowed for both teams. So for Winnipeg, they scored 550 points with 419 points allowed. Saskatchewan scored 450 points, and then they allowed 444. So Winnipeg obviously has a better points scored, points allowed ratio, and Saskatchewan only a 6-point difference, only 6 points more they scored, so that's not that good. So Saskatchewan is 7-3 in their own division, while Winnipeg is 4-6. So obviously you would see this right now as Saskatchewan having the edge because they're better at home. They have the better record. They do not have anywhere near as many points as scored as Winnipeg, but Saskatchewan is better in their own division, and they're better at home. And the season series was actually 2-1 for Saskatchewan. So the first game was September 2nd in Saskatchewan, where the Rough Riders did beat the Blue Bombers 31-23. So at that point, they led the season series 1-0. September 8th, so like 6 days later, they played again in Winnipeg. And that game, Saskatchewan also took 32-27. And then the last game of their final matchup before the playoffs, October 13th, I think that was in Saskatchewan. It's not written down here. I don't know why I didn't write it down. But Winnipeg ended up killing it, 31-0. I think it was in Winnipeg, 31-0. Winnipeg absolutely dominated them. And now you kind of think, well, if they can win 31-0, then you can obviously expect quite a tight game, which I am expecting quite a tight game. That's why I booked off the date, because I know it's going to be intense. I know these playoff games are going to be intense. I know they're going to be entertaining. They're going to be close. They're going to be so fun to watch, and it's just going to be so fun. Playoffs are amazing to watch. It's just awesome. So now going to the Western semifinal quick hits. So this marks the first time Saskatchewan has hosted a playoff game since 2013, and the first playoff game at new Mosaic Stadium. The same year the Riders last hosted a playoff game was the year they last won the Grey Cup. So Saskatchewan has a 23-26-1, .588 home record in the playoffs, so meh. The Winnipeg's road record in the playoffs is 21-32, .396 percentage, so obviously Saskatchewan also has the edge there. The last time the two teams met in the playoffs was in 2003 when Saskatchewan went on the road to Winnipeg and won 37-21. So that was obviously like 15 years ago, a long time ago. The team met in the regular season these teams met in the regular season on 3 occasions. Week 12 saw the Rough Riders win at home 31-23. Week 13 saw Saskatchewan sweep the home-and-home series following a 32-27 victory. In the final game, Winnipeg shut out Saskatchewan 31-0 at Investors Group Field, so in Winnipeg during Week 18. So that's that. Now going into some stats about Winnipeg, or about the matchup. So numbers don't lie. So it took until the very last game on the 2018 CFL schedule, but the Western semifinal matchup has finally been determined. The Saskatchewan Roughriders and Winnipeg Blue Bombers will meet for the 4th time this year. with one of the league's most intense and fastest-growing rivalries culminating in an elimination game at Mosaic Stadium. The two Western foes have plenty of similarities, each leaning on a hot and cold offense while making big plays on defense and special teams on the way to winning records. While the Bombers lean on the league's top all-around running back in Andrew Harris, the Riders feature a rush and duo made up of Willie Jefferson and Charlton Hughes, creating matchup nightmares for opposing offensive core coordinators. What will the difference be in Sunday's Prairie Battle? CFL.ca breaks it down in the latest Numbers Don't Lie. So number 1 is win the turnover battle, win the game. The headline, can the Riders keep it clean? The number, 10-0. Both the Riders and Bombers record when winning the turnover battle outright. So when they win the turnover battle, both teams are 10-0, so let's see, this game was going to be quite a good one. The Riders and Winnipeg have always been like a really good matchup, to be quite honest. Like regular season, playoffs, it's always been a really good matchup. So the Riders might have a daunting offense, but if anyone can beat them at their own game, it's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Bombers have a highly opportunistic defense themselves, leading the CFL in takeaways and turnover differential. Capitalizing on opponents' mistakes has been a key aspect in their success this season, leading to a league-best 151 points off turnovers. That's crazy, and that's really good. For Zach Collaros and the Riders' offense, protecting the football will be the key to victory. With an elite defense that can keep the score low and make sudden momentum-changing plays, the offense's job will be to manage the game and avoid the big mistake. The Riders have only won 2 games when losing the turnover battle, posting a sterling 10-0 record when winning the battle outright. Other times, though, giveaways have been an issue, with Collaros throwing more interceptions, 13, than touchdowns, 9, in his first season in Rider Green. That's not good at all. You definitely should never have more interceptions than touchdowns. That's really bad. Like that's not good. That's not acceptable. With the Bombers also boasting a perfect 10-0 record when winning the turnover battle, and unlike the Riders, failing to win a game when losing it, this is the one cliche that rings true in every possible sense. So number 2, Bombers must contain Hughes and Jefferson. The headline, welcome to Saskatchewan. The number, 25, combined sacks for Willie Jefferson and Charlton Hughes, one more than the Argos team total. So the impact of defensive ends Willie Jefferson and Charlton Hughes goes well beyond the stat sheet. Having the league's most dominant pass rushing duo gives Chris Jones a plethora of options on defense, including the ability to send a 3-man rush more than any other team in the CFL, allowing a plethora of different looks and creating matchup nightmares for opposing coordinators. Of course, the best empirical evidence is statistical. Hughes leads the CFL with 15 sacks in 18 games, and while he's cooled off of late, just 2 sacks in the last 7 games, not so good, he's proven throughout his 11-year career that he's capable of going off on a moment's notice, which is very true. Jefferson, meanwhile, has put himself in the conversation for most outstanding player, a rare feat for a defensive end, but one that he's earned after recording 10 sacks, 2 interceptions, including his infamous pick 6 against the Bombers in the Banjo Bowl, on which he taunted the Winnipeg crowd, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 touchdowns. Bombers tackles Stanley Bryant and Jamarcus Hardrick are considered 2 of the CFL's best, anchoring an O-line that's allowed just 36 sacks in 2018, but will face a difficult challenge in the Western Semi as they look to corral 2 of the league's pass rushing terrors. 3, the last one. Matty Ice has the hot hand. The headline, more than just a game manager. The number, 7-1. Matt Nichols' touchdown to interception ratio over his last 5 starts, all wins. Since acquiring Matt Nichols, the Bombers have become a perennial playoff team and Grey Cup contender in the CFL, reaching the postseason for a 3rd year in a row. However, with Nichols behind center, they're 0-2 in the playoffs, falling in back-to-back semifinals to BC and Edmonton. There's another step to be taken here, and it starts with number 15. Nichols has proven he can manage a game, but he'll need to make plays in order to beat the Riders at Mosaic, especially because the Riders are at home. It's always really hard to play a playoff game on the road because then everyone is against you, and it's so bad. The Bombers' pivot went almost the entire season without a 300-yard game, finally hitting the mark with a 358-yard, 2-touchdown performance to defeat the West Division champion Calgary Stampeders. Dating back to a Week 15 win over Montreal, Nichols has played some of the most consistent football of his career, completing 72% of his passes for 1,213 yards, 7 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. His 9.2 yards per attempt over that span are well above his career 7.7 yard mark, while his 8.0 average on the season also puts him at a career best since becoming a starter. As good as Nichols has been, however, the Riders have been his kryptonite this season. In 3 heads-to-head meetings, the Bombers quarterback has managed just 486 passing yards, an average of 162 yards per contest. In hostile territory in what could be a career-defining game, can Nichols finally figure out the Riders at Mosaic? So we're all going to find out this on Sunday, November 11th at 4:30 p.m. It will be a hell of a game, and I hope everybody watches it because it'll be a hell of a game, and it'll just be really fun to watch. So head to head, who has the edge in this matchup? And by the way, guys, I'm gonna do a separate video for this game, or for like this game and then the Ticat game. So after sweeping the Labor Day home and home, the Saskatchewan Roughriders appear to have a definite edge over their prairie rivals in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Suddenly, things changed. In the midst of a winning streak that would last 5 games, the Bombers flipped the script in October, chasing Zach Collaros from the game in a 31-0 blowout victory. So as we head into the Western semifinal and a 4th and decisive meeting between 2 of the CFL's biggest rivals, there's no telling how things will shake down. Sunday's matchup will almost certainly be a physical, hard-fought battle, one that could come down to one big play. Whether that's Darvin Adams or Andrew Harris for the Bombers, or a defensive player like Willie Jefferson or Sam Uguaven for the Riders, remains to be seen. CFL.ca breaks down who has the edge in the Western semifinal between the Bombers and the Riders, position by position. So quarterbacks, 2 losses to the Riders signaled a low point for Matt Nichols in 2018, but since then he has resurrected both his season and that of his Blue Bombers. And Nichols is playing as well as any quarterback in the league while riding an impressive win streak. Conversely, the Riders are trying to see if starter Zach Collaros will be cleared to play, and if he does, how effective can he be against a defense that shut out his squad in their last meeting. So in this stage, or in this area, Winnipeg has the advantage. Running backs. The Riders deploy a host of backs, including Trey Mason and Cameron Marshall of late, but Andrew Harris is the motor of the Blue Bombers offense. Winnipeg relies on the league's leading rusher so much, and he is not only the best back in this matchup, but perhaps the best in the country if you ask many. The advantage is also for Winnipeg in this case. Moving on to receivers. Oh my goodness. Neither team is defined by its receivers, but both these squads field a group of playmakers that share the rock and can play and can make can make big plays at a moment's notice. The one difference maker here is Darvin Adams. We saw what happened in last year's semifinal when the Bombers were without him, and his ability to stretch the field is the best test for a stout Riders secondary. Winnipeg also has the advantage for that. Offensive line. The Bombers' offensive line may have the most difficult test of any team in the CFL playoffs this year, starting with a dominant rush and duo of Willie Jefferson and Charleston Hughes of the Riders. Yet the blue and gold have the horses to do it. Starting with 2 of the top tackles in the league in Jamarcus Hardrick and Stanley Bryant, the late addition of Philip Blake bolsters an injured Riders O-line, but the focus will be on what Winnipeg's front 5 can do to contain Saskatchewan's attack. The advantage is also Winnipeg's. The defensive line, there is little doubt who has the edge here. The Bombers' pass rushers are not to be overlooked, but Willie Jefferson and Charleston Hughes are just so productive that they could easily be the difference makers. Jefferson alone can change the game in an instant, and his athleticism has proven that he is not only a threat off the edge, but can stall a drive with a knockdown or under possession with the key interception or fumble recovery. So Saskatchewan has the advantage in that. Linebackers. Individually, Adam Bighill and Javon Santos Knox had remarkable regular seasons. That said, the Riders are so deep at the linebacker spot and they play so many different players that they're players there that it is enough to... That said, the Riders are so deep at the linebacker spot and they play so many different players there that it is tough to not give them the slight edge, especially when you consider how much Saskatchewan relies on the play of their defense and the system they employ. It's quite an underrated group Chris Jones has. The advantage goes to Saskatchewan. The defensive backs. The Riders secondary has been balling lately, and Ed Gainey leads a group that has no qualms about carrying this team to victories. The offensive start and stop has been well documented, and these ball hawks have turned some close games into wins almost on their own. Nick Marshall, Matt Elam, and Luchez Purifoy have brought the type of athleticism to the defense that Chris Jones covets, and the advantage goes to Saskatchewan. The return game, Kevin Fogg, Marcus Thigpen, Kyran Moore, pick your poison. Both players have speed to burn in the return game and can put 6 on the board in an instant. This one's too close to call, although some would argue Saskatchewan's returns could prove more important given the state of their offensive, or given the state of their offense currently. So the advantage is kind of like push. It's like tied. And the last thing, kicking game, Justin Medlock is one of the best to ever do it, while Brett Lowther has made a name for himself in Riderville, putting 90% of his kicks through the uprights, while often coming through in the clutch. Josh Bartel is having another solid year punting the ball. No decisive advantage either way. The advantage is push. It's basically kind of like an undetermined, you can't really choose. Because this video is very long, like I said, I will split this into 2 videos. So my prediction, if you're asking, I have no fudging clue. Like, I have no clue. Like, it's really hard for me to choose because, like, I have no clue. Like, it makes me think I have no clue because, like, I always kind of go towards Saskatchewan, but then I feel Winnipeg is so good, they have the advantage in a bunch of things, but then Saskatchewan just had the advantage in a bunch of those things too. So it's like, you never know. Anyway, this video is really long now, so I'm just going to tell you my final score, my final record for, so my final score for CFL Pick'em this year, 49-32, so worse than last year. Total points, 8,666, streak points, 200. And my rank, 2,575th, and my average win percentage was 61%. So I have no idea who to choose. I'm just going to choose Saskatchewan because they're the home team. Like, I literally cannot choose. I'm just going to give Saskatchewan the slight edge, but there's no way in hell I'm going to count out Winnipeg. All I'm going to say is it's going to be a great game. If you can watch it, definitely do so. I will definitely be watching it, and I cannot wait for that game. I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be the Ticats and the BC Lions. Thanks for watching. And yeah, bye.